So this, my friends, is the Never Summer Big Gun, and what a fun board. It's definitely unique and different, but it's nice to see, there's so much short fatty going on these days. It's nice to see kind of more of a traditional old school powder shape with a modern camber profile. And you can see here, there's lots of rocker going on. So when you're back on this board, look at this nose, there's so much float going on. And you can see it's ripsaw off the tail, right over the tail, and then a mellow elliptical camber kind of going to rocker in the nose. And it really, you can see it's tapered too. But this is another, not just a powder board. With the ripsaw camber profile off the back tail, you can lay out some pretty good carves and get kind of close to what the Chairman's doing in terms of hybrid rocker carving, which is pretty good. It's a fast board, it's damp, it's got good glide to it. Even with look at this base, it's not even wax, but it still had speed to it. With a good wax job, wow, it'll be great. Not a huge fan of this die cut white here, because only for the reason it looks cool, but only for the reason that, when you go off piste and you hit something, it's going to take a lot more work than, let's say, if it was all black with just a little, Never Summer logo in the very far part of the nose or the tail. It's just so much easier to repair with black PTEX, but it's definitely not a deal breaker. And this is just a fun board. I really liked it. I liked the feel of it. It didn't feel like it broke in the middle as much. Some of the other boards, like the Instigator we tried, felt a little softer, and it felt like it bent in the middle where the rocker was sometimes when you were kind of hammering through uneven snow and kind of weaving in and out, and it kind of interrupted your flow a little bit, but it was still a great board. Where this, you really got a lot going on. So if you wanted to go all the way back, it's got a more old school kind of traditional, stance width. So going all the way back is 21 3/4, which, I'd probably go up to, go up one and kind of get to about 22.6, and then kind of slide the bindings the other way and try to get to 22 3/4. But if you're more old school traditional stance with a 21 3/4 width, so you're getting 25 1/4 back on the front, 25 1/4 on the front, and 17 1/2 on the back. So what is that? That's 3 1/2. That's 2 1/2 actually. That is 7 3/4 back on board, which is pretty far back, but still enough tail to where it's not super surfy, but it's still very surfy and very drivey, and I like that. So once again, let me just double check my math here. 25 1/4, so you're looking at 5 1/4, and 17 1/2. So you're looking at 2 1/2 to 20 and 5 1/4. Yeah, so it's 7 3/4. So it's almost 8 inches back on board, which is pretty far back for Never Summer. They don't normally do that, but they normally they're less far back than you would think. But with all that rocker, and all that directional float, you've got some, you've got a surfy feel, but a drivey feel too. You can really, it doesn't feel too washy despite the taper off the tail, and you can, if you just lean back a little bit, you can really drive off that tail and carve. So there you have it. That's the Never Summer Big Gun, and it could be really fun if you're looking for something, a little more big, a little more floaty, a little more, heliboarding, a little more just for those deep days. It can still surf the trees, and it can almost hang with the Instigator, and I found this way more fun than the Maverick. And the Instigator and this kind of have their own unique personalities that are more fun. The Maverick's kind of in between, but all of us, preferred the big gun or the Instigator more. And I think a lot of people will be really interested in the Instigator because it's a short fatty, and that's kind of the real trend these days. But a lot of people will really appreciate this big gun with this traditional old school shape with this modern camber profile. So there you have it, the Never Summer big gun, really fun.